Welcome, everyone. My name is Faith from Amplify. I'm so excited to welcome you today to our webinar, Math is a Language, Creating Productive Math Discourse Using Technology, featuring our very own Oscar Perales. While we wait for some more people to join, you can feel free to answer some of our icebreaker questions in the chat. Tell us where you're from, what you teach, and what made you want to join this webinar today. I'll give you about a minute to do that, and then I'm going to go over a quick housekeeping slide to make this webinar a little bit more efficient and exciting for you, and then I'll turn it over to Oscar. I'm excited to see who's joining us today. Let us know where you're from. Hi, Ryan. All right, let's go over a few housekeeping tips. If you would like to access closed captioning, you can go ahead and hit the CC button in the bottom tray and then show subtitles. We also would love for you to participate and make comments in the chat. Oscar may ask you for some participation, or if you have any questions, you can do that as well. If you have something specific you want Oscar to answer at the end of the webinar, you can use the Q&A function, and we'll make sure we get to those questions if we have time at the end. One last thing, you're going to receive a certificate of attendance with your webinar recording from Zoom in the next 24 hours, so keep an eye out for that in your email inbox. All right. So introducing Oscar, he is a math specialist on the teaching and learning team here at Amplify, and he's passionate about utilizing technology in the classroom to empower the teaching and learning experience, providing opportunities for discourse in a visually creative way, and providing students with a voice and ownership of their thinking. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Oscar.
All right. Thank you, Faith. Yeah. And yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Yeah. Welcome. Again, today's session. I'm super excited here because we're diving into something that's really near and dear to my heart. An idea that completely transformed how I approached math instruction in my classroom. And I'm happy to share that with you all here. But before I do, a little context about me. I'm a former high school math teacher working primarily with our multilingual learners and our neurodiverse students. And many of them, by the time they got to me, felt like they weren't really good at math, right? Like they weren't capable of it. But you know as well as I do that our students are more than capable. And I could see it, right? I could see their strengths that they brought along with them. Many of my students, right, they were fluent in multiple languages, right? They have a powerful visual and spatial reasoning and diverse ways of thinking about problems. And so that was sort of the game changer for me, that aha moment. Whenever I stopped viewing math as a collection of procedures to drill and started seeing it as a language that needed to be spoken, shared, and developed together. And that shift changed everything for my students and especially for me. And so here's what we're going to do today. Instead of me just telling you about mathematical discourse, I see we have a lot of educators from all different places. And we're going to experience it firsthand, and we're going to do it through the lens of technology. And so you'll see how these digital tools can really enhance that collaboration in your classroom and how this kind of discourse naturally builds that student fluency and deeper understanding. And so, with that, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Give me one moment as I go through. Right, here we go, like so. And I think what better way than to start off with a little bit of math, right, to kind of get our thinking flowing here. Um, with one of my favorite routines, probably a routine that you are familiar with, that you've used and leveraged in your classroom, which one doesn't belong. And it's one of my favorites because you can launch it quickly and you can immediately invite multiple ways of thinking from every student in the room. And so I'm going to ask you to put your student hat on, and you've got four different representations here. And I want you to think about first which one of these does not belong. Okay, so think about which of these doesn't belong, and then be ready to share your reasoning in the chat. Okay, which one does not belong? All right, yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at the chat here. Yeah, I see some. Yeah, I see that there. Yeah, I'm seeing. Yeah, I'm seeing A or D as a single statement. Yeah, yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Jessica. Yeah, yeah. Pam, C, because it's only the one that has a visual. Oh, right. Yeah, we can see sort of the different representations. Yeah, C sort of kind of giving us that visual there. Yeah, yeah. Very good. And D is the only one that is hard to see, the 1/6. Ooh, interesting, right? Yeah, because in the other ones, A, B, and C, we're definitely seeing the different distinctions of the 1/6, except for D, right? We're kind of seeing it all kind of together there. Yeah. A is the only one that includes an operation. Yeah, I love that, Ronald. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Right, we can see it. That multiplication. We can start kind of bringing in some of that language, right? Of three groups of 1/6, and we can definitely see that three groups in choice B and in choice C there along the way. Yeah. Because in B there's no retention. Yeah, so exactly right. There's multiple ways here that we can kind of look at this here. There's really no right or wrong answer. It's just a nice way to kind of bring about students' understanding here, right? We talk about, on group A here, we're the only one that we can see the operation there along the way. We can talk about how B we can kind of see just the three different pieces of 1/6 there along the way. Whereas, as Pam mentioned earlier, right, we can see C as that visualization of one part out of six, and we have three groups of that along the way. And then you've got that D there, as Lori mentioned there, as a single representation along the way. So again, which one doesn't belong? I love these kinds of routines here, just kind of short, sweet, and to the point, and just a chance to really kind of honor different students' voices in the classroom. So yeah, thank you so much for indulging with me alongside there. So let's keep it going here. And one of my other favorite routines is sort of a notice and wonder, but I want us to kind of step back a bit and look at this data here. Which may or may not surprise you. This is from the nation's report card showing the percentages of students scoring at or above proficient in both math and reading for fourth and eighth graders in the United States. Okay, and so I want you to take a moment here and to really look at these graphs and really ponder, what are you noticing or what are you wondering here about this data here? What's kind of resonating here? And again, feel free to drop your notice and wonders along in the chat. Yeah, thank you, Antoinette, for sharing that resource there for us. Make sure we can share that with folks as well. Yeah. What are you noticing? What's resonating here? Now, as you can see, I've pulled specific demographics, really kind of looking at some of our most often marginalized populations. Again, in my contents, I worked primarily with these set of students here. And yeah, let's see, Ronald. Yeah, something is happening in between fourth and eighth grade. Yeah, right. We can definitely we can really see that stark difference as we see a drop from fourth grade to eighth grade and both math and reading, but especially in math there. Yeah, we can definitely see those declines there. Yeah, we can start seeing, as Mike mentioned, yeah, we can see some correlations there between reading and math. Yeah, and I like this nice wonder, why the significant decline? Yeah, so a lot of questions, right, that come about here. And I think we're all seeing it, right? That our students, especially our marginalized students, need stronger math support as they advance, right? There's some sort of drop that's happening from fourth and eighth grade. And right, and you know as well as I do, there could be multiple factors that come along with it, right? But the question is, how can we keep them moving in the right direction, right? We cannot let them fall behind. How do we do it? And I think in order for us to to think about it, is how let's take a look at some compelling data from one particular state, which really resonated with me whenever I saw it. Um, when we zoom out and look at 10-year trends, especially in the state of Mississippi, we see some incredible progress that's happened, right? As you hear that in the state of Mississippi, fourth grade students are ranked number one in the nation for growth, which is amazing, right? And one of the key factors that stood out was this idea that for this progress, to be made, there was an intentional emphasis on literacy. And what's so powerful about that approach of focusing on literacy is that when students become stronger readers and communicators, it lifts their performance everywhere, including mathematics, right? So as we mentioned earlier, right, there's definitely some correlation. So how can we make it work in tandem, right? How do we focus on literacy in the math classroom? It all starts with a simple but powerful mind shift that math is a language. Now when I talk about the language of mathematics, we mean something more than just a list of vocabulary words that, academic language that we want to front load for students, right? We're talking about giving students authentic opportunities for them to read, to write, speak, and to listen to the math, right? That's where real mathematical discourse happens. And NCTM lists mathematical discourse as an effective teaching practice. But where do we start, right? I think we can all be in agreement. Like, yes, we want students to talk math in the classroom, but how do we ensure that, first of all, that they're talking math, and how do we ensure that that math is progressing towards a learning goal, learning target that we want to get to by the end of the lesson of the unit, right? We start by creating environments that build on respect, high expectations, collaboration, and student voice, right? That's how we really get learners to excel and to build these real math skills. They're going to stick with them throughout their lifehood, right? And so for our time today, this is what we're going to focus on, right? We're going to look at the role of technology, in particular, how understanding how tech can really enhance that mathematical discourse. We're going to look at some math language routines, these structured processes that invite student thinking and support that conceptual understanding through intentional talk. And then we're going to explore some free digital tools that support this collaborative problem solving and help all learners engage meaningfully with math. So everything that I share with you, the activities that we'll do, I'll share with you at the end. You'll have access to them. You can do them tomorrow if you would like. All right. So the first, right? So what is the role of technology in our classrooms, right? Its real purpose in math class isn't to think for our students. It's to amplify their thinking and help us make connections through multiple collaborative interactions, right? These are collaborative moments that happen in the classroom. They're going to provide students with meaningful and timely feedback that keeps them engaged in the math task at hand, right? Like the first time we experienced together, right? This learner to teacher interaction where the technology was really in my hands, right? In the teacher's hands. And the technology really just serves as a tool to facilitate this rich classroom discussions, right? Like which one doesn't belong or notice and wonder, right? The other two we're going to explore a little bit further, right? The other one, this idea of a learner to learner collaborative interaction, where how can we leverage technology to connect students thinking, right? And then the other one, that's something that's I'm really passionate about, is this idea of a learner to software interaction, right? You know as well as I do that uh, we have a lot of need in our classroom, and a lot of times it's a challenge to try to get to every single one of our students and attend to every single one of their needs. So the question becomes, how can we leverage technology as a collaborative thought partner, right? That's going to be thinking with students, but not for them, right? And so we're going to dive into these two in just a second. But even before we do, these last few interactions, the first one you kind of see the little teacher icon there, and the other ones you don't see the teacher, and you're probably thinking, well, what is the teacher doing in this role, right? Is the teacher just hands off? Are they just in the bag, great, sitting down grading papers? No, like even in these last two interactions, the teacher is very much in control, very much controlling the flow of the lesson, right? We cannot solely rely on technology. We need structure for these environments. And so, where can we get some structure? That's where these math language routines come in, right? They provide us with a structured approach to talking mathematically. What I love about these math language routines, they come from research from Stanford University, and they work great beautifully across K-12, right? So a notice and wonder in kindergarten. It's going to be very similar as a notice and wonder in high school, right? They compare, connect, and so on and so forth. What I absolutely love about these MLRs is that they're a repeatable adaptive activity, right? That really weave language development right into your math lessons, right? It's not something that you're having to think about retroactively, right? Like it's built within the actual lesson itself. And they're specifically designed to invite every student to participate. They help clarify their thinking and really start to deepen their mathematical understanding. But here's where it gets really exciting, at least for me. This technology, right? How can we leverage technology to really amplify the power of these routines? And so, for a time here, we're actually going to dive into two of these routines. We're going to look at collect and display, and we're going to look at co-crafting questions and problems, and we're going to do so through the lens of a learner to learner and a learner to software collaborative interaction here. All right, and so with that. I'm going to invite you to open up another browser. And then if you can go to student.amplify.com, it's going to ask you to log in. You can type in those 6 digits there. And then you can just continue without signing in. That way we can get on there. Or thank you, Ryan. He went ahead and yeah, go ahead and drop that student link there for me. Very good. Thank you so much, sir. Yeah, that's if you can just click on that link that Ryan just dropped in the chat. That'll get you right into our very first activity that we're going to look into. The first activity is going to really focus on, again, how can we leverage technology to connect students in meaningful talk? And so I'll give you a few minutes here to join as we do that. I'm going to go ahead and come on over to this other side here as we get our folks logged in. And again, as you're logging in, it can if you already have an account, you can sign in with your account. Or if you're new to joining a lesson from Amplify Classroom, you can just continue without signing in. It'll get you onto the platform and into the actual lesson itself. All right. Now, as we are joining here, the first activity that we're going to do now, you are going to be paused there. Give us a chance again to log in. What if you're looking on my screen, this is what we call the teacher dashboard. So this is how whenever I have my students join an activity, this is how I'll be able to kind of keep getting. Yes, this bad gateway for me. Okay. Yeah, let's see here. Same for me, huh? All right, let's give me a second. Yeah, I was wondering, I was like, why are my students not joining here? Yeah. Getting your hands to wheel. All right. Well, hopefully we're not having a system issue. Let's try this again. Drop it in here. It never happens, right, with technology. You never have never goes down or anything. Yeah, it's not allowing me to join, it's just spinning, huh? Okay. Well, hopefully we can get folks on. If not, no worries. You'll be able to have access to this code, this activity at the end of it all. And so you'll be able to access it. But hopefully we can get folks online because the purpose is for us to talk math. So let's try that again. It looks like oh, look at that. Perfect. Ryan, it was probably me. I probably gave you the wrong. I probably added like an extra backspace in there or something, and it happens. But all right, very good. All right, we've got folks on. I can see you there. Very good. Got it. Thank you. Appreciate your patience as we are getting logged in there. Yeah, I can see I've got 17 students hopping on there. By the way, again, as you're joining here, you are paused, or I'm going to give you some directions in just a second. And I am using a couple of facilitation tools here Again, I think the role of technology, especially in the classroom, is not to replace the teacher, but to really enhance what I'm doing in the classroom, right? So right off the bat, I'm using a couple facilitation tools along with me. So right now I've got you paste. Notice there's a couple screens in there that I'm going to have you interact with, but I just want you to focus on that very first one. I do have you pause because I'm going to give you some directions. And then the other one is I've got you anonymized, right? So I love using the anonymize button as a way to just build that math community, right? A safe learning space where kids can try right answers, they can try wrong answers, and it's totally fine. And so, if you're wondering where did my name go, you have been assigned a random mathematician here along the way. And so, I love how. We are constantly updating our list of mathematicians there along the way. So, very good, very good. All right. So, without further ado, let me go ahead and introduce this activity here, a learner to learner collaboration. And it's going to be a learner to learner collaboration because you're going to be paired up randomly with somebody in this room through a game called a polygraph. And so you've never played a polygraph game before. It's kind of like a guess who, right? So what's going to happen is you're going to be randomly paired up with somebody in the room, right? So let's say, for example, I get paired up with Ryan. Ryan is going to choose a card that it's up there, but I don't know what card Ryan chose. That's going to be my task. And so I'm going to ask him some yes or no questions. And so we're gonna engage in some back and forth dialogue here. You show the anonymized screens with learners. Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, so I definitely show the anonymized screen with learners, and then they can also see their anonymized name at the top. A lot of times it brings them curiosity, which is amazing. Yeah, you're asking me about a mathematician. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, definitely want to share that with students. So let me give you an example here of what the interaction is going to be here. If I go into my teacher view here's a game that already kind of happened here. So you can kind of see the lay of the land here. You can see it's a game between John and John. It looks like this card right here at the bottom was the one that was chosen. And so they're engaged in a back and forth here, right? So first question that was asked is, does your shape have curvy or straight lines? And so partner responded, I'm not sure. Because again, I can only respond by yes or no. And so gave us a chance to couldn't eliminate any cards, but asked us, it gives us a chance to make our question a little bit stronger and clear, right? And so John asked, does your shape have curvy and straight lines? That's a lot more intentional, right? We can see that it is no. We can see that based off of that, John was able to eliminate some of those cards and then started asking some more questions, right? Is your shape closed? Yes. All right. So we can kind of see the progression of the game here along the way. Does your shape have a square? Well, that's a good question, especially with the ones that we have left over. What I love about Polygraph here is that yes, we are going to be building academic language, but we're going to do so organically. So here, formal, informal language is totally fine. Yes, you're paused. I'm about to unpause you. Like for example, this one here. Does it look like a bow tie? That's a great question there that we could have asked, and we were able to get to there. So without further ado, I'm going to unpause you here and have you engage in the game. Now, once when you start the polygraph, it's going to ask you if you want to play a practice round with with the game. It's going to have a bunch of little kid figures there. Feel free, you can skip that. And it will take you straight into the game. Or if you want to get a little bit more familiar with it, you can do so as well. So very good. I can already see I've got a couple games here in progress. Again, my picker, your job is to pick a card and answer yes or no, or I'm not sure. And the guesser, you're supposed to guess what card your partner chose by asking them a yes or no question, right? And so what I love about this here is I've given you directions. I've unpaused you. I can be walking the room here. And now it's a good chance for me to start maybe even highlighting some really key words or phrases, right? To start building again that bridge between that informal to that academic language that we're trying to get into there. Is a demo slide embedded in this activity? No, so that demo slide that I was just showing you, like that practice, it was actually a practice round that I had between two other students. So the beauty of being able to have this on the teacher dashboard is that it saves it, it stores it for me automatically here, right? And so this lesson here is going to start building. It's going to introduce students to the word polygon, right? So they're not quite there yet, but I can see some great questions that are starting to come in here. Does your figure have curved lines? That's a great word there that we can, jot down, perhaps even um, start collecting and displaying them right on the classroom board there. Oh, I love this here. Bringing in, does your card include any angles? Yeah, very good. Does your card have five sides? Oh, I like it. Yeah, very good. Again, a nice little back and forth here. Again, remember that your once the question comes in, pick her. You got to respond. Yes, no, I'm not sure. Very good. All right. Is your shape open? Oh, very good. I like those. Some really key words here that are coming in. I like this question here. Is your figure closed or open? That's a good question, but how can we make that question a little stronger and clear? Remember, your partner can only answer yes, no, or I'm not sure, which happens, right? Especially with polygraphs. I love doing a polygraph at the beginning of a unit when you're introducing the questions, the word, the vocabulary. And I like to use it even at the end of the unit, right? Whenever they actually build their vocabulary there along the way. And it's always nice to kind of compare and see how our students are kind of progressing there. Yeah, why can I ask questions? So remember, the only one that can ask question is the guesser. And remember, picker, you got to answer yes or no. And a lot of times with students, a little bit of um, a learning curve for students to kind of get used to it at first. Some students might, again, need help with a little bit more clarifying the questions there along the way. Um, but that's okay. That's part of it, right? It's sometimes language acquisition is not always going to be perfect. It's going to be a little bit messy here, and that's totally fine. Look at that. I already have a couple guesses here along the way. Very good. I'm going to give us about another 30 seconds here. Notice that whenever you do either when you pick, when you guess correctly or you did not guess correctly, it does ask you a a question, right? It's going to give you two sets of cards asking you what's a good question that you could ask that you can use that you can leverage here. All right. And for the sake of time, I am going to pause this here because I definitely want to take a look at some of our games. Oh, we got some good games going on here. Look at this between Lori and Kimberly here. Wow, like nice little back and forth. I'd hate to disrupt that. Here's a couple more minutes here. Yeah, no worries. Nikia, let me go ahead and drop the link here. There you go. Feel free to click on that, hop on in. Yeah, we just got started, really. So no worries there. This particular polygraph, I believe, is a grade six one, but we've got a lot of polygraphs up there. Again, a lot of free digital resources. We've got some for elementary, we've got some for high school that are focusing on different linear equations, quadratic equations. Again, my context, I was in high school. So I love doing a polygraph for linear functions and then doing one for quadratics and then doing one for exponential. And what was interesting was seeing the vocabulary and even some of the words and terminology that carried across all three, right? Students were using things like, yeah, you're welcome, Lori. They were, asking questions about, does it cross the origin? Does it have a y-intercept, x-intercept? And I just absolutely love that they were able to carry that vocabulary throughout the different types of polygraphs there. Yeah, very good. All right, I'm going to go ahead and pause this here. In three, two, one, pause. Okay. And just again, usually at the beginning of the game, especially when I'm doing it with students, I always like to kind of pause, right, and even highlight, some of the different ways that my students are perhaps using it, and giving a chance for them to, celebrate their thinking a little bit here along the way. So, yeah, I like this one here. Let's go ahead and look at this one between, yeah, Amanda and Nova. Yeah, thank you here. So we can see the questions here that were asked there along the way, right? We can see the card that was chosen here by Amanda, chosen the looks like a kind of a star or whatever. Does your shape have only straight lines? And we could talk about why that is such a strong question to begin with, right? Because based off of that question, right, we were able to eliminate all these different cards. From just that one question, right? So we can even talk about what's a great opener, right? Does your chart have any right angle? So I love the focus there of any type of right angles there. We can see no, right? So we can start seeing the progression. Is your shape open, right? That's a great question. Again, looking at the different cards that we have left over here. And so we can start seeing that progression here. Perhaps as if I'm in the classroom, right, I'm capturing some of these words. I'm creating a bank of questions or words or phrases that my students can use and leverage as they continue with the game. Because I would, right? I would actually, after this, I would unpause them and I would give them a chance for them to try it again. Oh, I love this. Is your shape open on the top, right? That's a great, and we can talk about why is that such a great question just by looking at the last two here, because yeah, these two are very, very similar, but not quite, right? That's something that's very distinctive. So I love that. Yes. So thank you. Thank you so much again, Nova and Amanda, for sharing that there with us. Um, and this lesson itself progresses, right? Again, the purpose of this, yeah, you saw that learner to learner collaboration where you are connected through the technology, you're bouncing ideas back and forth, you're clarifying your questions. And then we get to this screen here, right? Where now we're actually asking students a little bit more. And so now we're going to introduce the concept of what is a polygon, right? And so here's that math language routine of collect and display. That collect and display is a great chance for, again, for me to connect that student words, their informal language to the formal vocabulary that I want to introduce them to. So that purpose of that polygraph was to get them to understand what is a polygon, right? And so here, how are polygons different from shapes that are not polygons? And so, what I really love about this question is that notice nowhere in there am I saying what is a polygon, right? I am allowing students for them to come up with their own definition, right? You just played this game, this polygraph game. What are you noticing here? Or even here, you got some examples of what is a polygon versus what is not a polygon, right? And so, as my students are working on that screen there, right, I can go into my teacher view and I can start seeing the multiple ways, right, that my students are starting to describe what are polygons here, right? So there you can kind of see the beauty of being able to collect and maybe start displaying some words. So yeah, give you a minute here. Yeah, go on to screen two. And yeah, how are polygons different from shapes that are not polygons? And yeah, you have a couple of things there at your disposal. So not only do you have a text box there, but you had that sketch screen here. Maybe perhaps you want to do some sort of annotation, like I'm noticing the polygons. They have this sort of kind of openness here that are not polygons. So perhaps that's a characteristic of a polygon. I don't know, right? I don't want to tell students, right? I want to leverage their thinking. I want to honor their voice a little bit more. So yeah, yeah. Look at all these different responses here that are coming in. And I can even take a moment here and perhaps I'm going to collect some good ones here. See a lot of, yeah, closed figures, all line segments. So even I love the intentionality of some of those words there. Yeah, close figures from start to finish. Very good, very good. Yeah. So even like right here, right? I can. I'm gonna pause this here just so you can kind of see my screen a little bit. Three, two, one, pause. And I know I'm gonna have you kind of go back and forth between your student experience, but I definitely want to highlight the teacher experience as well, right? So as a teacher, right, I can see all the different ways that students are describing what is a polygons here. We can even talk about some emergent themes here. I can even take students' work here. I can collect them, and now it's a chance for me to even display them here, right? And what is a polygon? What is a polygon, right? So as we start building the academic language of it, I'm doing it by leveraging what you as students were telling me, right? Any closed shape with more than three straight sides, right? So I love that, short and sweet and to the point, right? We know it has to be closed. It has to have more than three sides, right? Have straight sides, lines that do not cross, and they are closed figures, right? So the lines, not only do they have to be straight, but they cannot cross there, right? They don't have any curvy sides. So the opposite of a straight side to a curvy side, and they all are line segments and closed figures, right? So I can even save this here. Again, the power of being able to collect and display what my students are doing. I'm honoring their thinking. I'm engaging them, and I'm letting them know, like, yes, like your thinking here matters and is super, super important. So very good. I love it. Thank you all for sharing there. Thank you for jumping in. Yeah, Nova, I totally agree. This is fun activity. Polygraphs, again, are one of my favorite ones to do. Do you have to take the whole class period? No, it can be something you do at the beginning of the class to kind of, again, launch a unit, or perhaps at the end. And what I love is like students they get really engaged. They get really competitive sometimes. They're like, I want to try to get in three questions or two questions, and so on and so forth. But again, the purpose of it is showing you that learner to learner interaction, right? Connect using technology to connect us from across. Think about it. We played this game, and we got people from all different places there along the way. And then that collect and display that math language routine, right? That I can use and leverage. Very good. It's not found in display, it seems. Yeah, it probably is there, Shayi. It's just that, again, you're probably anonymized. If I was to scroll all the way down, right, I can see all the different responses, and I can even go into a summary view here, and I can see specifically my students who did respond there along the way. So a beauty, again, another advantage is that I can really kind of progress monitor how students are working throughout an activity. Very good. Oh, lock me out. All right. So the next activity and we're going to look at now a learner to learner a learner to software interaction, right? So how can we leverage technology here as a thought partner? So not having to wait for the teacher. And so with that, I'm gonna push you over to this next screen here, and I'm gonna unpause you. So feel free, you can play around with that screen there. This particular screen has multiple challenges there along the way, or feel free, you can follow along here with me as well. I'm going to go into my student view to mirror exactly what you are seeing here. This activity is called products and sums. And so this particular activity is getting students to experience and look at equivalent expressions. But they're doing so through the area model. And so what I love about this particular screen, this is how the activity actually is launched, right? It launches here where we want students to just practice a skill of, can you write an expression for the area of the rectangle? And what I love about this here is, like, like the very first one, we see 3, 4, we know it's going to be 12. But it says, right, write an expression, right? So maybe perhaps I want to write it like so, right? 3 times 4 there. I'm going to check my work. It's going to give me that visualization. I'm going to get the little dopamine hit there with a little star. And then it's going to ask me to, hey, go ahead and try another, right? And so even here, as I start building, as a student, right, I had students do this mistake all the time. Well, I see a 3, I see an X. Maybe I want to do 3 plus X here. Do I have to wait for the teacher to check that for me? No, right? I'm going to get that visualization. They're like, oh, wait a minute now. Well, now I'm getting these purple rectangles, not these little squares. What am I missing here? Oh, I need 3 groups of X, right? And so again, not having to wait for the teacher, I can use that technology there to think along there with me. And again, it's just repeated challenges here. So it's just kind of getting them warmed up, getting them into the frame of mind of, we're going to be looking at some equivalent expressions here along the way. Again, as a teacher, I can go to my teacher view and wow, like I can already see I've got all these different ways that uh, folks are jumping in. I can even keep track of how many challenges have been completed. If you ask me, I don't know what the limit of the number of challenges is. Like I can see over here, Olivia did like 13 challenges. So I definitely at least 13, but I feel like there's going to be a lot more there, right? So I just love this even before we jump into the lesson, a chance for them to just practice that particular skill that they're going to use and leverage there. And yeah, we can even see just the multiple ways, right, that it's going to work, which ones are not going to work, and you're going to see that kind of feedback that we're getting there. And so, again, that learner to software collaborative interaction. Now, this is how the lesson starts, and I'm only sharing with you just small little pieces of these lessons, right? These lessons are actually full fledged. They actually build along the way, and this lesson does build. As you see, they're going to have a chance for them to um, look at equivalent expression using algebra tiles. And they're virtual for algebra tiles, right? I don't have to worry about losing those pieces or having to pick them up. But eventually, what's going to happen is that students are going to be taken into this next screen, which is where they're going to get a chance to, instead of doing a bunch of practice problems, they're actually going to get a chance to create their own. And so they're going to do so from the context of a challenge creator. And so this is where we're going to see that co-crafting questions there. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to move us over to this next screen here to the very last activity we're going to look at. And then I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to pause this here so you can kind of take a look at my screen. So if you've never done a challenge creator before, take a look at my screen. So I'm going to kind of walk you through that, right? And again, the idea here is instead of at this point of the lesson, I want my students to practice that specific procedure of equivalent expressions. But instead of me assigning them a bunch of problems, they're going to create their own and they're going to get a chance to try out their other classmates' problems, right? So there's even still a little bit of a learner to learner interaction here along the way. So what you're going to do is you're going to click on this Make My Challenge and you're going to create your own here, right? So again, we're doing it from the context of algebra tiles here along the way. And so you can make this as simple, as complicated as you would like, right? Along the way. You can even change the orientation of it there. So again, giving students a little bit of freedom there along the way. But what I love about this is that as a student, I don't just create the problem, like I actually have to solve it myself, right? And so, for example, here the area expression. So here's a rectangle. I have to write an expression to represent its area. And so, as you well know, right, there's multiple ways I could possibly write it here. Maybe perhaps I'm just going to write it and maybe something like this here: 12 plus 6x. And even if I, do it incorrectly, again, notice I'm still going to get that kind of feedback that I've been getting even from the practice, the repeated challenges screens there. Oh, I need 12 groups of that there, right? Not necessarily a very conventional way, but that might be a way that my students might see it, right? That's good. All right. It's going to click me to go next. And then it's going to ask me, right, to write an equivalent expression, right? And so again, here I can perhaps maybe rewrite it a different way. Perhaps I want to show the um, not just the final, right? But maybe I want to show the actual distributive property. So bringing in that context there, right? Of I'm going to be distributing that 12 to everything that's in the parentheses there, right? Again, I have my sketch screen here if I want to maybe do some, annotations here along the way. Again, multiple ways that we want to allow students to just kind of share their thinking there. And then once I have that, right, I have my two equivalent expressions. Now I can submit my challenge, and that challenge is going to fall into the class gallery. So I'm going to invite you to make your own challenge. And then once you create it, I'm going to invite you to try out one of your other classmates' challenges here. All right. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to unpause this here. Give us a moment to play through that. And yeah. So can you show the homepage? Yeah. Happy to do that, Antoinette. Yeah, at the end, in fact, the next screen I'm going to take you has those links. That's going to take you to all the different activities there. So, yeah, there's a lot of really great ones for secondary learners. Yeah, happy to share that with you. Okay. Again, if I was in the classroom, right, I've given you directions. Now I'm just going to walk the room, right? I can have my summary tab up here open so I can see the progression here. Students are coming up with their challenges as they start completing other classmates' challenges there. And again, the beauty of this is again, you're kind of like with the previous activity with the polygraph, right? We're really trying to value and drop that yeah, value student thinking. Yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah, Ryan, as we wait here, as you're building, yeah, drop some questions here if you have some. Is there anything in particular? Again, the last thing I'm going to show you is again, I'm going to take you through, I'm going to show you all the digital tools here that you can have and access. Um, Nothing that I've done here is behind a paywall or anything. Like, if you want to try them out tomorrow, you definitely can. Oh, I can already see some folks have tried out John Urschel's. I got 5 folks have tried out John Urschel's. Oh, we got some coming in there. Yeah, very good. And what's even great, right? This is again this math language routine of co-crafting questions, right? Where I'm building the question. I love how we have that safety net from a text standpoint of like I'm building this question, but I have that safety net of like I have to solve it myself, right? So as I submit it, I know it has a right and a wrong answer. But then even a chance for us to even start even kind of comparing and connecting different ways, right? Because again, this is the purpose of this particular lesson is looking at equivalent expressions. And even if I look at John Urschel's here, and I can see 5 students have tried them out, right? I can click on them specifically, and I can see the different ways, right, that students are coming up with the answer there, right? I can see, yeah, 20x plus 32 here. Well, that's the distributive property, right? 4 groups of 5 eggs, 4 groups of 8. So again, a chance for me to start comparing um, how students are looking at this here. Yeah, and start seeing like, wow, I'm seeing the same thing that you are, or perhaps we're looking at it in a different way here. Yeah, I love it. Right? We know there's a right answer. And yes, eventually we want to get to them to, we want to make sure that they're writing it in simplified form, right? But the purpose of this here is to see that there's multiple ways to get to that final answer and just the value and the beauty, right, of math, of being able to see all the different iterations and how they apply and how they are connected there. Yeah, very good. Yeah, 9 times 9. So the different, even the symbols, right? When we talk about math is a language, we want to give students opportunities for them to read, to write mathematics, right? And so you know as well as I do, like getting them to write the language of math, the actual equations, the proper way of using the proper operations, symbols. Um, especially as you start thinking, going into like high school, right? When I'm writing x squared, that is specific, right? I'm asking for a specific behavior versus X2. That's going to give me a completely different um, behavior. But again, how I can leverage tech to help students there along the way. Very good. Love it. Oh, and I love this too here. So if you look at my screen, as a teacher, a lot of times folks are, and again, I just showed you a couple of screens here. There's an actual lesson. A lot of times folks are like, well, how would I grade this in the classroom or how would I give students some sort of feedback along the way. A lot of times I would ask my students, we got done through the activity, I would say, all right, your assignment for today in this challenge creator is I want you to create a challenge and I want you to try, I don't know, at least 5 of your classmates' challenges. And what's the beauty again of the teacher dashboard is again, it's enhancing what I'm doing, right? Because I don't have to flip through each and every one of my students. I can see, like, for example, who's this over here? I can see Alicia has completed what, like 6 different challenges there. That's amazing, right? I can see here Kimberly, right, has completed 8, right? So I can see that quickly and celebrate that and provide whatever feedback I need to for my students there along the way. Very good. All right. So promise I'm gonna open up the rest here, so you have access to it. So again, if you want to go back, if you want to play around with a polygon, the polygraph one there, and or this product and sums, you definitely can. But I want us to, as we finish this up here, I definitely want to hear from the experts, which is you. Think about this here, and just kind of quickly, just kind of do a little reflecting and sharing. how did the using technology in these activities support or enhance our mathematical discourse? Like it's kind of weird, right? That we're doing a session on Discourse and talking math, but the only one that was talking was me as a teacher. But I mean, it's a webinar, right? But there was still some sort of discourse that was happening. Curious from the experts in this group, how did the using the tech here, these activities support or enhance our math discourse? What resonated with you all, or what were some challenges that you perhaps are as you're thinking like, this is nice, this is great, but you know, whatever may be. Obviously, some of the challenges are the technology standpoint, right, and making sure that we have equitable access for our students. Um, that can definitely be a challenge. But yeah, curious from the group here. Nikia, I totally agree there, right? The language barrier, because of the visual aspect. Yes, right. You see that interaction in there, gives them another leg up there. Or even in the polygraph activity, one of my favorite things is I would have a lot of times an English speaking student be paired up with a Spanish speaking student, and because we had already collected and displayed academic language, they were still able to communicate, right? He was at the Spanish speaking tutor might have been asking, very small questions, but they were specific. And more importantly, his partner understood what he was saying, right? And I just found that to be just super, super powerful. So yeah, I totally agree there. Asking questions during the polygraph, right? Yeah, the value of that, right? And how we can make those questions stronger and clearer, right? We only did that for 5 minutes. Had we played that game a little bit longer, you would see that your students are progressing. They're getting their vocabulary is starting to become um, more intentional, if you will. Yeah, I do think the tools enhance student, especially student. Yeah, the student to student, right? We saw that polygraph. The challenge may be the areas that students struggle with prior knowledge. Yeah, right. So definitely thinking about how we can, students are coming in with different levels of prior knowledge. But I think that's why it's important for us to be able to use technology in a way that's not going to just tell them whether it's right or wrong, but it's going to really help them interpret their thinking. And then more importantly, right, for me as a teacher to be able to take that thinking and start making those connections, right? So maybe perhaps the student doesn't understand the distributive property. That's okay, right? But they're really strong looking at it from a visual standpoint. And so now it's a chance for me to start making those connections there. So totally agree. Yeah, tech conversations, not face to face. Students can feel more comfortable. Instant feedback. Love it. Love it. Yeah, visually. Yeah, love that, Antonio. Yeah, low stakes, visually enhanced, safer way to explore math. Yeah, exactly. Right. That's the low floor, high ceiling. Right. There's a lot of growth. There's a lot of rigor that can really go into it. Right. It just really depends on the level of our class, which varies from class to class, from day to day. So, love it. Yeah, thank you all for sharing. Very good. All right. Now, so to close, I promised you some free digital tools, which you do have, right? So if you go to that last screen here, some of you have already gone in there. If you go to the last screen here, those are the links there for our different collections. These are feature activities there. These are free. All you have to do is just create your free teacher account if you don't already have that already. But there's some really, really great resources there. So, like for example, in the Grade K-5 collection, what's great is that even though we focus on the technology component, notice that um, there's also print lessons that you can use that you can leverage there along the way. There's even some math routines here that I can use to have some quick launches there. And so as you go into them there, um, I think it was this all kinds of fractions. This is the one that I was choosing. Nope, it was this one, equal groups of fractions. So like even the first one that I did, that notice and one that which one doesn't belong, right? Like that was just a warm up of a full lesson. It's actually a print based lesson there. So again, as a teacher, this is the learner to teacher interaction there that I can just use the tech here to push student thinking forward a little bit along the way. But then it does have a nice student edition there that goes along with it. This is a really fun lesson. And then as a teacher, what's really neat too is that you also have access to the teacher edition. So it has all the different rich teacher moves already embedded there for you. And then even for 6-8, our 9-12 collection there as well. Again, these are a lot of these lessons are lessons that are part of our program. However, like they're there, they're available for you to be able to use and leverage. Um, and then as well as for 6-8 there. Okay. All right. And so again, Amplify Classroom. You got all those free digital lessons, print lessons that you can use and leverage. The other thing you also have is again those free virtual manipulators. That's also part of the program here. So if you've ever used Polypad before or virtual manipulatives, again these are just great little just to kind of get class starters, openers, just to get kids thinking, talking math. How are they seeing the sum? Again, they're available. They're already built for you, so you don't have to like recreate them. Like they're already there. And again, you have all the different teacher moves to support you in facilitating these here along the way. And so as we close here, I know we got about 5 minutes. Is there a blank table for your warm up slide, or do we have the warm up slide? Yeah. So you're talking about the warm up one that we did. Yeah. So that was just this lesson right here. And then, yeah, all you would have to do is you just click on the present here, and there's that screen. So what I did is I actually just took a snapshot of this, and then just uploaded to a slide there. So you have that flexibility. Yeah, so that's a great question. Um, all right, friends. So as we start closing here, yeah, thank you, Eileen, or thank you, Ryan, for dropping in that collection there. Again, what is a summary? Math is a language, right? We want students to speak it fluently. We want them to read, write, speak, listen to the math, right? And so we can create an environment that caters to that. What is tech's role in this environment? Is to enhance, not replace a high quality instruction. If you're here, you are already doing high quality instruction in your classroom, right? This is not meant to replace it. It's just meant to really enhance it. And that's the role of technology. You know, as well as I do, there's not a single piece of technology out there. There's not a single form of curriculum that's ever going to replace the impact that a teacher has in the lives of their students, right? And so it's just there to enhance. And we can enhance it, right, through learner to teacher interactions, through our learner to learner, where we're connecting students with technology, and then even through these learner to software interactions there. And then what are the math language routines, right? It provides us that structure and purpose that you can use and leverage. I do want to quickly point out here, if you go onto, and I know, Ryan, you dropped it in the chat, but if you look on that very last screen, these math language routines, again, I told you they're research based on Stanford University, so they're not specific to us. They're just great instructional tools. What we've done is we've taken that research and we've sort of simplified it, and we made it into these instructional cards that are just more they're just more user friendly that you can use and leverage, right? So we've got some for K-5, we've got some for high school there. So for example, here's that collect and display. What is the goal of it? How can I use it? How can I start leveraging and surfacing that student thinking? So these are great. And again, you can definitely use and leverage in there. So again, they're there for you. Yeah, there you go. Thank you, Ryan, for dropping it in there. Yeah, no, thank you for joining. Yeah, I don't know if we have any other, we got a couple minutes here left.
Yeah.
Ryan, Faye, let me, if there's any questions that came in here.
Yeah, Oscar, I am seeing a question from Antoinette. What is quick launch? That might have been something you were showing in the platform.
The quick launch
Quick launch.
on the platform. On the, let me see here. What's quick launch? Yeah, Antoinette, can you clarify that a little bit more? Yeah, the quick launch is more of a, yeah, like just to kind of set like a warm up, just a quick launch activity that I can use and leverage there. So it's not meant to be something that's going to take a lot of time, but it's just something to just kind of like we did in the beginning with that which one doesn't belong. Something just kind of gets students thinking, flowing. Usually it's a low floor, high ceiling task, as you saw that with the fraction one where it's low entry point, but there's a lot of conversation that can come about there. One of the activities you were showing on the platform. Yeah. So if we go, I think it was, let me go back here. I think it was in a K-5 collections. So if you go in the K-5 collections, we have these K-5, we have these math routines. And and there's some polygraphs there for the lower grades. These are just like quick launches that you can use and leverage. And I think it is the polypad virtual manipulatives. Here we go. Here we go. You go on the polypad virtual manipulatives. Here's these class openers, warm-ups, and quick games that you can use and leverage. We've got some for number sense. There's some for geometry here, and even for some like probability that, where they're having students predict here, how many dice are going to be. You can roll it, start kind of collecting data there. So again, they're just meant to be just the first 5 minutes for the last 15 minutes if students have a little bit of time. But um, I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, I think that's it for the chat. And I know we're coming up on time here. I'm going to share my screen really quickly and share a few more resources. My friend Ryan is going to drop them in the chat for you as well.
Yeah, here's the polypad one that y'all were asking.
Yes, so we
Polypad.
have all of those great free resources that Oscar mentioned in Amplify Classroom. You can grab the link. Ryan is sending them in the chat for you now. We also have a new holiday-themed K-8 math activity called Feasting on Figures, where students can try to collaborate to create a holiday meal and plan using their math skills. There's that math routines link as well for you that's been mentioned a few times today, including some of the routines Oscar displayed. And then finally, if you want to join us for the next webinar and some others in this series that are happening throughout the rest of the fall, you can find those at amplify.com/math webinars. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here today. We know you're so busy, and we're really honored that you took the time to be with us today. And thank you, Oscar, so much.
Thank y'all. I appreciate it. Thank you, Lori.